Hello and welcome back, and you're sitting comfortably. It's time for a bit of a weird one. Today we want to compare Synology and 45Drives, and I know right now there's going to be the odd keyboard warrior right now taking to the comments going, you simply cannot compare these two brands.
Fool this man!
Hell, you simply cannot compare this, the Synology DS1825 Plus, and this, the HL8 from 45Drives. And to a point, you're probably right. These are two brands with very different philosophies, very different solutions in their portfolios, and ultimately a different user experience for you, the end user. But I do think right now, whilst one of these brands is having something of a PR nightmare with regards to users' freedom in their systems, I do think we should discuss arguably one of the darlings of data storage freedom right now. Depending on your skill level and your scale of data, there is an argument to be made that this is the easy option. This is the straightforward option. This should be the obvious. It arrives with a turnkey NAS solution software. Straight out the gate, it arrives with client tools. It arrives with everything ready to go. You plug it in, you stick a LAN cable in, and bingo bongo, you're good to go. It arrives with a simplified user interface, almost Android tablet level utilization and controls. It is a doozy. Why on earth would a user choose to go 45Drives, where not only are some of the pre-built, pre-burnt solutions more expensive in terms of the hardware, on top of that, their availability isn't as global as Synology over there. Why would anyone go for the complicated Houston OS, which is built on Cockpit, instead of Synology's DSM platform? Well, reason number one is, what if you don't want to use either software? What if you want to use the ZFS-powered TrueNAS? What if you want to use Unraid for its flexibility and low impact? Maybe you want to use Zimmer OS for its ease of use and growing support of things like direct Thunderbolt connectivity and its selection of client tools. What if you want to use any of those? You can't use them on this one. A Synology NAS is designed for Synology software. You can't use third parties. It is a bloody nightmare to install third-party operating systems on this. You are locked in. Get used to hearing that word. Now, they include the software with their pre-built solutions. You can download it. They've even started working on a client tool. Hopefully there's a video live on that right now for the setup and backup management operation. However, you can just sack all that off and use your own operating system if you choose. Now, of course, what stops you doing that on something else? Why not just, use an old PC? Why buy either of these? And you're absolutely right. But if you've come to this video, it's because you didn't want to build your own NAS in the first place. You wanted a pre-built solution, but you wanted to do it your way. And you wanted, another word, scalability. And that is another area between these two brands. Now, I'm not going to suggest that Synology isn't scalable. It's pretty damn scalable within their ecosystem. Get ready to hear that again. They have phenomenal scale systems, going all the way up, by the way, to that desktop 60-bay system. Hell, you can get the grid station system, which goes up to 96 nodes, if I remember correctly. The Active Protect system there, which arguably has subscription costs attached. It isn't to say that theirs isn't scalable. You can hit PBs on there, and depending on the operating system and the file system, you might actually be able to use most of it. But still, it will never have the scalability of these guys, notwithstanding because of the open-ended nature of the operating system and the fact you can go for things like TrueNAS, which allow for greater scalability, but also because of the customization options open to you and the replacement of the hardware inside, the replacement of CPUs not being locked in on first-party peripherals, by the way, which often come with their own limitations. If you can only use theirs, you end up not being able to use 40 gig cards from third parties out there, 100 gig cards from out there. These won't have those limitations. And that scalability may not seem important now, but depending on your business class, it will become attractive and will become important down the road. Now, before this turns into way too much of a 45Drives loving, we've got to put our feet on the ground and be realistic. This thing is expensive. Whether it is you are looking at 45 drives for a custom case and you're going, oh, sweet setup there. This case for an 8-bay MITX is extraordinarily expensive compared to buying DIY solutions from the likes of AliExpress and more, which have got 8-bay cases as low as $70 or $80. Now, I know that seems like an unfair point to make when we're comparing this against Synology, but hear me out. Even if you go for the pre-built solution from 45 drives, their base level hardware they include could stand to do some work. And a lot of the components, by the way, for those pre-built solutions come out of the East. They have to, because that's where they're built. So it's worth keeping in mind that 45 drives has that scalability, but it arrives at a price tag. It is a unique design, and indeed, some of their rack mount designs, all built in-house, by the way, are beautiful and well designed with a huge degree of personalization in terms of the efficient components they choose to use, but also the aesthetic and design. It still has to be said that in terms of price point, Synology leads by a country mile there in terms of the generally available 15 to 20 different devices they have available to end users. And that, by the way, extends all the way up to even that 60-bay solution I talked about. When you look at the price tag of their 60-bay pre-built enclosure versus similarly scaled solutions from 45 drives that are pre-configured and burned in, it becomes a great deal more affordable. Just keep in mind, however, that that price tag locks you in many ways in a way that the 45 drives doesn't. Also, we have to acknowledge that one of the main reasons people were so pissed off about Synology's change in stance on supported hard drives and SSDs was because their software platform is so good. We were annoyed how much they were locking our choice as end users for the hardware we want to use. Now, their software is user-friendly, doesn't require that command line knowledge, doesn't require the same level of sysadmin oversight as anything you're going to run on 45 drives there. Yes, some of the fundamental baseline stuff can be user-friendly, but after that, you're going to need a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and that costs time and money, and indeed both in some cases there. But arguably, 45 drives knows this and is built on that tipping point. This, for me, the reason I include these two here is I think these two systems represent the tipping point between these two brands. Because although people do deploy a lot of Synology hardware around the world in higher end business, I think enterprise is still a muddied water field. And while you have got big your Dells, etc., pushing down where the money's getting tighter and people like Synology are trying to provide affordable solutions in the middle, it is the variety of hardware, the variety of solutions that Synology are seemingly only now catching up on in the last few years. M.2 NVMe flash systems there, U.2. It's only now in 2025 that this brand has started rolling out solutions into that market. Whereas 45 drives and a lot of their higher scale, business-led, enterprise-grade hardware has been facilitating for several years now. Yes, it's expensive, but it still manages to be significantly more affordable than the EMCs, your NetApps and more as an option. And I think that is where they have made their bones. That is their bread and butter. Do you want to know how I first found out about Synology? I found out about Synology because I needed a media server. I spoke to a few other users that wanted to back up their machines, use a bit of Time Machine. Do you know how I found out about 45 drives? It was when people were looking for petabytes of data storage. They were looking for hundreds of terabyte storage. They were looking for transfers and performance that were hitting the thousands of megabytes per second consistently. I didn't hear about that from Synology until closer to 2020, and it's only been within the last 3 to 4 years that I've confidently recommended this brand for that kind of storage and performance threshold. And during that time, these guys were strengthening their muscles more and more. Are 45 drives affordable, easy to use, globally available? Sod no, of course they're not. Right now, if you're based in the US, if you're based in Canada, you're absolutely laughing. But still, when it comes to affordability, they cost more than most, and they are by no means as user-friendly. They're addressing that with those client tools, as well as expanding their lineup of solutions for better ranges to suit different kinds of end users, from video editors to standard backup operations to large-scale data center class systems already available. Now, Synology, on the other hand, are they enterprise? Are they affordable? They are more affordable than 45Drives. Usability, a total cost of ownership that arguably a lot of business users are going to love, and ultimately an ease of deployment and synchronicity between the rest of their ecosystem are going to be hugely appealing to a lot of users. But just keep in mind about that hard drive compatibility stuff, and keep in mind that once you are locked in to the Synology ecosystem, it can be very difficult to escape it years down the line. The 45Drives method costs more on day one, it costs a lot more in time, in terms of actual money, and ultimately it's a big investment in more ways than one, but has greater freedom down the road, has better scalability down the road, and arguably a better construction for many. But what do you guys think? Are you a system integrator? Are you just an installer or an engineer that has been on site with both of these systems, and which one have you found the best to work with? Maybe you're a customer of one and moved over to the other. What did you shop for? Ease and simplicity, or scalability and freedom? Let me know in the comments. This video was not sponsored by either of these brands. They have absolutely no control over its output. This video, like all of them, is kind of supported by ad revenue, and it is supported by making any kind of commission from the links in the description. So if you found this video helpful, really important, and if you were going to go to the stores listed in the description below, please use those links in order to get hold of your solution. We make a small commission on anything you buy via those links, and it allows us, just me and Eddie here, to keep doing what we do. But don't feel you have to, just Control-T, open another tab if you like, whatever suits you, whatever floats your boat. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.